plan and the provincial policy statement, and generally staff are recommending in support of the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does council have any questions of the report? Seeing none. Councillor Hallerud, I believe you have a resolution.
Yes, I do. Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Hudson, that this Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll approve the zone change application submitted by Ingross Limited for lands known municipally as 98 Thames Street North, Ingersoll, to rezone the subject lands from Restricted Industrial Zone MR to Central Commercial Zone CC to permit the development of a future eating establishment on the subject lands.
Thank you very much. Any discussion? Councillor Hallerud.
I just want to say it's nice to see that our policies, from whether it's provincial or the intention for these intensification, is actually working in our favor. I hope that as long as people take advantage of these rules and guidelines, that we can actually truly see things change and develop in Ingersoll. So it's nice to see. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Yeah, I'll say is that I'm fully in support of this. I think that it's a better utilization of the land than it's currently vacant, and it certainly has some historical, cleans up some historical lots and makes it a useful package for the applicant. So I'm in favor of that, and yeah, we'll see what comes of it. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. We will now move into our second special report, which is ZN 62205, Royal Management 37 Williams. Mr. Graves.
That's the third grouping of maps there for council's review.
Thank you,
Feel free to begin.
So the second application on tonight's agenda is an application for official plan amendment and zone change. The application for official plan amendment has been requested to establish a site-specific policy on the property to facilitate the conversion of the former Princess Elizabeth Public School to a 20-unit residential apartment dwelling. And according to the applicant, the said development would occur over 2 phases. The associated zone change application has been requested to rezone the subject lands from institutional zone to special residential type 3 zone to permit the proposed development, and further a site-specific provision has been requested to reduce the minimum gross floor area per unit from 55 square meters or 592 square feet to 48 square meters or 516 square feet. Based on the site sketch submitted by the applicant, the proposal does include 35 parking spaces as well as loading spaces, and all development will occur within the existing structure on the property. Subject lands are located on the west side of George Street, lying between Alma Street and William Street, and are approximately 2.7 acres in size and contain the existing institutional building, as well as the parking area which would be expanded. The subject lands do contain approximately 1.4 acres of green space on the west side of the property, which is regulated by the Upper Thames River Conservation Area Authority. Planning staff have reviewed the proposal and are generally satisfied it is consistent with the policy direction of the PPS and the official plan to provide for a mix and range of dwelling types and tenures to accommodate the needs of the residential uses throughout the town. Staff are further satisfied that the proposal will efficiently utilize existing municipal infrastructure and public service facilities in the area. And also, staff are of the opinion that given that the proposed development will be wholly located within the existing structure on the property, minimal impact will be had to the existing character of the immediate neighborhood. And the proposal can be considered an efficient reuse of an existing historical building within the community. Further, staff are satisfied that approval of the proposal will not contravene the existing natural hazard policies of the provincial policy statement or the official plan, which are intended for the protection of public health and safety, the prevention of property damage with respect to existing flooding on the western portion of the subject lands. So as previously noted, most of the property is in the floodplain area, and this is due to the presence of an underground watercourse on the west side of the property. The Conservation Authority has reviewed the proposal and has indicated that they are generally satisfied with the proposal, but are recommending that the site-specific policy only allow for residential units within the existing building, which is the intent of the draft policy that's been provided. The published staff report did indicate that this agency requested the removal of all the asphalt on the west side of the building, but this has since been addressed, and the existing driveway that's there now will remain for emergency access purposes. So overall, the Conservation Authority has indicated that they are satisfied with the proposal, and given that no further development is proposed, staff are generally satisfied that approval of the requested amendment is not anticipated to have any further impact on those existing natural hazard features. The applicants have provided a site plan and an interior concept plan that's shown on plate 3 of the staff report, which shows the proposed dwelling layout within the inside of the building. The applicants have requested that site-specific amendment to the R3 zone provisions for the minimum gross floor area. And it is noted that although they did request 48 square meters as a minimum gross floor area requirement, there is one unit shown at 47.8 square meters. This minimum gross floor area requirement is intended to ensure that sufficient space is provided in private dwellings for general living, cooking, and washroom facility areas. The dwelling units proposed by the applicant are one-bedroom bachelor-type apartment dwellings that would range in size from the 47.7 square meters to 81 square meters. And the concept plan submitted by the applicant does also include a number of additional areas such as bicycle storage rooms, workrooms, laundry facilities, and a guest room. So planning staff are satisfied that the proposed dwelling size will provide for sufficient area for living and will aid in providing a variety of rental options within the town while meeting code requirements of the building code, and will provide for additional amenities throughout the building in the form of these utility spaces to serve the future needs of the tenants. A number of comments were received as part of the public meeting of council. These mainly included concerns with respect to traffic congestion and existing property standards issues. Planning staff are of the opinion that the proposed conversion will not result in any additional traffic concerns beyond what would reasonably be expected from a compliant institutional use on the property. And the town director of engineering did not identify any further concerns with respect to traffic in the area. And it is noted that any future property standards issues would be subject to the town's property standards bylaw going forward. So overall, planning staff are satisfied that the official plan amendment and the zone change applications are consistent with the policy direction and can be given favorable consideration. If approved, a detailed site plan review would be undertaken prior to the issuance of any building permit. And as such, staff are recommending that town council approve the requested zone change in principle and advise county council that they're supportive of the official plan amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a delegation on this, so I'd just ask council if they do have any questions of this report, but no comments till we do discussion on the resolution. Councillor Hudson, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I just had one question with regards to the minimum size. Was the minimum size per dwelling 47.7 square meters, 505.9, or 47? Sorry.
Through you, Mayor Petrie, to Councillor Hudson, I believe the draft bylaw recognizes 47 square meters in size.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Hughes.
Thank you. Through you, because my head's not working good with math tonight. What is the parking spaces ratio to apartments that are being built?
Through you, Your Worship. So the applicant's providing the minimum parking standards required. That's 30 spaces for the units themselves, and which is 1.5 spaces per unit, as well as 3 additional spaces for visitor parking and 2 additional barrier-free spaces.
Any further questions? Oh, yep, Councillor Van Koop-Bosens.
I just noticed that the front entrance would be off of William Street is where it's proposed at this point in time. Is it going to become barrier-free in that respect? Because right now it steps up to go into that front entrance, whereas the side entrance off of George Street is actually at ground level. So I'm just wondering, will the residents be able to enter or exit off of George Street, or are we going to make it barrier-free going into the building in that respect?
Through you, Your Worship, to be honest, that hasn't been considered at this point. It's something that we would consider at site plan stage, but that's noted, and we'll take that into consideration going forward.
Councillor Hughes.
Yes, so thinking of the heritage value of the building, it was built in 1909. I'm sure many Ingersoll residents have gone to this school. Is there any suggested changes to the outside that they'll be making that may affect any heritage value of the building?
Through you, Mayor Petrie. So we do have the ability at site plan stage to review any facade changes, at which time if council had specific interest in seeing no changes to the facade. There's none that I'm aware of at this time, but that is something that we could review again in further detail at site plan stage.
Councillor Halleru.
Yes, thank you. I've been looking at the site plan and I wonder, is it 1 or 2 stories?
Through you, Your Worship, the existing building is 2 stories in height.
So is there an elevator that would be in this building?
I would defer that to the chief building official, but I would assume that that would be a building code requirement.
Through your worship, that will be looked at the permit stage. All requirements of the building code will have to be met for accessibility.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none. Okay, we're going to now have, before we take a resolution, we'll now go down and have a delegation from Harry Wang, please.
Mr. Mayor Petrie and Mr. Chief Griffin and councilors, thank you very much for giving me the chance and the time today for the consideration for my application. I prepared something, but I feel nervous. I better just speak something like my experience. 2019, when a summer night, I went to VMA to talk to some ladies sitting outside and about their living there and how did they get into. And it seems everybody is happy. And they say they're still on the waiting list. When 2019, I called the superintendent of VMA and they say they have 20 or 30 people still on the waiting list. If nobody move out, and you cannot get in. So that's make me to decide to purchase the Princess William Street, William School. And I went especially difficult time for 4 years, but at last I'm happy I'm reached this moment. I really hope Council can be in favor of approve this zone change application. For the period when I was 2019, I started to be friends with the church priest, Steve, and he's always support me. Church always encouraged me. He said, we will be successful. At that time, we have a great plan. Church and Christian school and seniors residence. This is a combination for this building. And Steve said I would handle everything. That's a big dream, but at last we realized that, and we cannot put everything together without even the zone change. We didn't know that. Even church, even everybody there didn't never discuss about zone change. Last year. I called the previous owner. He said we never thought of it, and he said it's time to quit. Harry, quit it. It's a big trap. But I didn't want at that time, and till today, I feel I'm happy I reached the last moment, the moment that I really can start to build. First, change the zone. And for the neighbors' complaint, I really will take seriously, especially for the grass cutting and the trees I plant. So many. I dream to have that at a big yard, a big garden, trees for the people who live there, like over 50s, to have their own space and walk and plant flowers. So last year I did something, but failed. Transplant and I planted some trees. It's I don't know the reason. I didn't have experience, so many died. But neighbor complained, and I cut already. And I promise I will take good care of that grass cutting and backyard. Backyard a little bit mad because I bought some bricks, something, trailers. I will take care of it, surely. And when I was really good with the church priest, he had already a name list of 20, 30 people who showed interest in living in that building because they prefer to have, because priest, Steve maybe told them, we will have a church here, we will have a Christian school, because the space, big space, have computer room, have a library, and we have a 2 floors building, could be hold like, at that time we dreamed to have 14 units. So, so we believe this 20 unit complex apartment could help some people who cannot really afford like a detached house, or they downsize, they want downsize, they could choose this kind of small battery unit, right? And, for the some neighbors complained that I didn't upkeep well for the building. I spent money for changing the whole new windows, with new windows, and I stuccoed the whole outside surface of the building. It looks much better. Church people, neighbors all said it looks nice, much better. And I don't have any intention to change the outside, just the painting looks a little bit better, that's it. And and we changed the old water heating radiator, just the radiator, we didn't change the system radiator. I did something for upkeep the building. Wow, because I hope one day we can fulfill my dream to turn this beautiful school, nice building, into useful residential for the residents in Ingersoll. I start to have a feeling about this building. I don't want to quit. I just wait and hope. At last year, we were on the right track because Ron told us you must change the zone. And thank you for planner, showed me the right way. Even the past 2 years, we wait to prepare a lot of documents, many things, but this, since last year, I start to see the light, like in the darkness. So I wish, really hope council can consider it and approve the application. Yeah, thank you, council. Thank you very much.
Is there any questions for the delegation?
It's a basement. The basement is not allowed to do anything, just I believe for the laundry room, something. And so we have 2 floors. And about the 2 entries, one is Alma Street, that is entry, and the George Street also have an entry. And for handicapped, because from George Street or Alma Street, you go to the main entrance of that school building. There's, because the architect designed the apartment for the handicapped person, because there's no obstacle, no barrier at all. Yeah, this is the question before I should answer.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, and we will now go to Councillor Hudson. I believe you have a resolution, please. Actually, you want to, Councillor Van Koop, can you receive the delegation first, please?
Thank you, Mayor Petrie. Moved by myself and seconded by Deputy Mayor Wilson that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receives the delegation from applicant Harry Wang regarding his submitted zone change application ZN 6-22-05 as information.
Thank you. Any discussion? Councillor Halleru?
I just want to say thank you to Mr. Harry Wang, and I want you to understand that when neighbors have a right to speak their mind, it's part of the process that actually makes the outcome better. You're not only providing housing, you're providing jobs eventually, and I hope that the neighbors have felt heard, and you've all come to a consensus that you're just trying to do what's right by Ingersoll. So I just really want to appreciate the effort, the patience, the money you've spent, and we thank you for adding some value to added to required spacing.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Now, Councillor Hudson, please. Sorry about that earlier.
Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Van Koop that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll advise County Council that the town supports the application to amend the official plan, file number OP22-08-6, submitted by Royal King Management Corp. For lands described as lots 1 to 8, south side Alma Street, and lots 2 to 7, north side William, Block M, Plan 95, Ingersoll, to establish a site-specific policy within the open space designation to permit the development of 20 residential units within the existing structure on the subject lands, and further that the Council of the Town of Ingersoll approve in principle the zone change application, file number ZN 6-22-5, submitted by Royal King Management Corp. For lands described as lots 1 to 8, south side Alma Street, and lots 2 to 7, north side William, Block M, Plan 95, Ingersoll, to rezone the subject lands from minor institutional zone 1N1 to special residential type 3 zone R3-SP to permit an apartment dwelling containing 20 units with a minimum gross floor area of 47 square meters or 505.9 feet.
Thank you. Discussion. Deputy Mayor, please.
I'll be in full support of the application, and through you, Mayor Petrie, I just wanted to bring council's attention to some data in the Oxford County Housing Strategy. So in Ingersoll, 28.7% of renters are in core housing need. But if we look at renters 65 plus, it's 41% are in core housing need. So that means their housing is either not adequate, affordable, or suitable. So while I do hear the concerns that were brought forward in the public meeting last month, I believe it's important we're making planning decisions that provide that spectrum of housing options, and this application does that. So I'll be in support of what's been brought forward today.
Councillor Van Kouten-Bosens.
I too will be very much in support of this. I think it's a great use for an old school that was very much the center of the area that I grew up in. I can't wait to come and see what it looks like. I think that it's wonderful that we're having 20 units in there. I couldn't ask for anything better. Thank you, Mr. Wang, for bringing this to the town. I too heard the residents of William Street and the surrounding area. I don't think most of them lived there when it was a school. When it was a school, the ins and outs around that area was atrocious. This is 20 units. So please give it a chance, give Mr. Wang a chance to, I drive past it, the school every day. My dad still lives on William Street. My dad, when I asked him what he thought, he was like, bring it on. I think it'll be great. So I thank you. The use and not seeing it just sit there going derelict is amazing, and I wish you all the best. And I'm here as Christy to help you in any way, shape, or form that I can, not as a councillor, but as just me, because I think it's very much needed in our community. And thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Further discussion? Yeah, I will just speak as well, I guess. I'll be in support of this. This property is obviously a storied past. I don't think, listening to the residents' concerns, certainly things will change, but given the constraints on the property and what it's been used for in the past, I think that this is probably a best case outcome, and it certainly will provide, when it comes to fruition, it would definitely provide some much needed diversified housing options within the community, and then maintain a building that's, as Councillor Youssef said, has been there since, I believe, 1909. And I went to school there. I can't remember it. It was so long ago. But no, it's no. So I'm in support of this, and I certainly will be at the county level as well when the official plan amendment comes there. So, any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. And I will ask Deputy Mayor for a resolution to go into Committee of Adjustment.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll adjourn the July 10th, 2023 regular meeting of Council at 8:23 p.m. to go into a Committee of Adjustment meeting to consider the following minor variance application. 1, A-02-23, 105 Bruce Street, applicant Jonathan Body and Charity Bowman.
Mr. Graves.
Yeah, this is the first set of maps in your grouping.
And I'll ask Heather to present to the committee, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So this application for minor variance has been requested to permit an addition to an existing residential or detached residential accessory structure to permit it to be located in the front yard of the subject property. The subject lands are located on the west side of Bruce Street, lying between Carnegie Street and King Hiram, and surrounding land uses are mainly low-density residential, consisting of single detached and semi-detached dwellings, as well as industrial uses along Carnegie Street. The subject lands are irregular in shape and are approximately 700 square meters in size and contain an existing single detached dwelling, as well as 2 existing residential accessory structures, one of which will be removed, which is located in the rear yard of the property, if Council refers to Plate 2 of the staff report. as well as an existing garden shed, which is located immediately adjacent to the detached garage, adjacent to Bruce Street. The existing detached garage was established by way of a previous minor variance decision in 2010 to permit the garage in the front yard of the property and is approximately 400 square feet in size. It's proposed that an 18 by 14 lean-to structure will be added to the south side of the existing garage, which will result in a total gross floor area for that detached garage of 652 square feet. The owner has noted that the requested variances have been proposed due to the configuration of the subject lands, which do limit rear yard access to the property. Planning staff have reviewed the proposal under the 4 tests of a minor variance and note that the property is designated as low-density residential in the county's official plan, which is intended for the development of low-density residential uses and their accessory structures. So staff are satisfied that the proposal is consistent with the intent of the official plan. The property is zoned as residential type 2 in the zoning bylaw, which also permits low-density residential uses, including single detached and semi-detached dwellings. And Section 5 of the zoning bylaw regulates detached accessory structures and states that they are not to be placed in the front or exterior side yard of a property. And it's the intent of this provision to ensure that uniform sightlines and consistent streetscapes are maintained in residential neighborhoods. It is noted that these provisions also limit the maximum gross floor area of detached residential accessory structures to 100 square meters or 1,076 square feet, or 10% of the lot area, whichever is lesser. The total building coverage with the proposed addition and the existing 100 square foot garden shed would result in approximately 69.9 square meters or 752 square feet of gross floor area coverage on the subject lands. And the applicant has indicated that they do intend to remove an existing structure that's located in the rear yard. So staff are recommending that a condition of approval be included to ensure that these combined floor areas comply with the provisions of the zoning bylaw for the maximum lot coverage allowance. With respect to agency comments, the property is regulated by the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, and this agency has reviewed the proposal and indicated that they have no concerns, but a permit from their office will be required. Concerns regarding the proposal were considered at a public meeting of the committee with respect to the aesthetic impact that the proposal may have on the neighborhood, as well as the decrease in property values and the potential that the proposed addition may encroach on neighboring properties. Staff are recommending that a survey be provided as a condition to locate the proposed building to ensure that all relative setbacks of the zoning bylaw can be maintained, which would alleviate any concerns from the neighbors with respect to encroachments. And overall, staff are generally satisfied that the proposal will not interfere with the property's ability to provide for adequate parking, landscaping, or lot grading and drainage, and will not negatively impact the existing sightlines along Bruce Street. So as such, staff are of the opinion that the requested variance can be supported from a planning perspective, but staff have included a number of conditions associated with approval, including confirmation of the building location from an Ontario land surveyor, the removal of the rear yard accessory building, the relocation of the existing garden shed to the rear yard, and confirmation that drainage is wholly accommodated within the subject lands, all of which would be to the satisfaction of the town. Thank you.
Excellent. Is there any questions of the report? Seeing none, I believe we have a resolution from Councillor Bowman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, Member Bowman, and seconded by Member Hughes. That the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll, or that the Town of Ingersoll Committee of Adjustment approve application A-02-23 submitted by Jonathan Body and Charity Bowman for the lands described as Lot 10 and part lots 8, 9, Block 103, Plan 279, municipally known as 105 George Street in the Town of Ingersoll. As it relates to relief from the provisions of sections 5.1.1.4, permitted location of an accessory use, to permit the addition of the comprising approximately 23.4 meters squared or 252 feet squared to an existing 32.2 or 36.2 meters squared, 400-foot squared building, accessory to a residential use in a front yard of the subject property, subject to the conditions identified in Report CP 2023-171, and that the proposed relief meets the 4 tests of a minor variance as set out in Section 45, subsection 1 of the Planning Act as follows. The proposed relief is a minor variance from the provisions of the Town of Ingersoll zoning bylaw, and that the relief is not anticipated to impact the ability to provide sufficient area for access, maintenance, drainage, and draining. That the proposed relief is desirable for the use of the lands as intended use that is permitted by the zoning bylaw, is compatible with permitted uses in the area, and will not negatively impact neighboring properties. The proposed relief maintains the general intent and purpose of the town's zoning bylaw, as the development is generally in keeping with the provisions of the R2 zone, and that the relief maintains the intended and purpose of the official plan, as addition to the attached garage being an accessory to the residential use, is a form of development compliant by the official plan.
Thank you, Member Bowman. Discussion. Member.
Question on discussion, it's okay.
Okay. Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. That is carried. If any member of the audience wishes to be notified of the decision of the Committee of Adjustment for the Town of Ingersoll in respect of the minor variance, please submit written or emailed request to the Secretary of the Committee of Adjustment, Daniel Richard, at daniel.richard@ingersoll.ca. The Secretary must provide notice of the committee's decision to all those who request a copy within 10 days after the making of the decision. Only the applicant, the minister, specified persons, i.e. various public utilities or public bodies, may appeal decisions in respect of applications for minor variance to the Ontario Land Tribunal by filing with the Secretary within 20 days of the notice of the decision. The notice of appeal must set out the objection to the decision and the reasons in support of the objection, accompanied by the required fee. Just before I call for adjournment, I'm just going to pass, I'll sign first, and then we'll pass that down to get signed. There's no, I will now call for adjournment of closing of the meeting. Member Use, please.
Moved by myself, Member Hughes, seconded by Member Hellerue, that the Committee of Adjustment meeting for application A-02-23 be hereby closed.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And bring a regular meeting back to order. Councillor Hellerue, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Where are we? Moved by myself, Councillor Hellerue, seconded by Councillor Hudson, that the July 10th, 2023 regular meeting of council come back into order.
And discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? It's carried. We're now back as council. And we have completed one, so we will now move down to item 4 and 5 of the correspondence resolution. And that is, the first one is Ingersoll Services for Seniors Municipal Resolution Request. And I believe we have a resolution from Councillor Bowman on that, please.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Hughes, that the Council for the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the correspondence from Leslie Hill, Executive Director of Ingersoll Services for Seniors, as information, and that Council approve the request to provide a letter by July 15th, 2023, confirming the following: current municipal funding commitment to assist with the Center's Senior Activity Living Center, SALC, funding request. 1, $46,400 in cash contributions from the Town of Ingersoll, and assumption of responsibility for all expenses related to the building and equipment repair and maintenance, utilities and other incidental costs, which are estimated to the amount of $148,200 per year.
Discussion. Councillor.
Well, I just wanted to, I know that they don't have delegation status, but I did want to make sure that the three ladies that are left sitting in our audience tonight were recognized tonight. Our new executive director for the Senior Center, 50 Plus Center, is with us, and it is Leslie Hill, and she is here. And then beside her is Christy Umaga, who is their program coordinator, and beside her is no secret to any of us, Kim Bidwell, previous program, I think it was program coordinator, but she now sits on our members committee as well. So they've sat very patiently, and I just wanted all of you, if you haven't been out and you would like to go for a tour, they would love to have you out. By all means, it gives you a chance to meet the new executive director. Wendy, of course, has retired. But I would love that everybody would be able to support this. It's some funding for some programming, and so we're very excited. If there are any questions, I'll do my best to answer them. Since they don't have delegation status, they gave me extra stuff, but hopefully you don't have any questions. Thank you.
Any further discussion? None. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And and then we'll go on to item 5, which is the family facility rental costs for Ingersoll services for seniors. And Councillor, you have a resolution on that.
Sorry, you caught me off guard. Moved by myself, Councillor Hughes, seconded by Councillor Hallerou, that the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Ingersoll receive the correspondence from Leslie Hill, Executive Director of Ingersoll Services for Seniors, as information, and that Council approve the request to incorporate a discounted cost for rental of town spaces for recreational activities for Ingersoll Services for Seniors and its members.
Discussion. Councillor Hughes.
I was just going to say that I read that as approved. I did have the option for deny, but I figured everybody was on board with, making the town better for our seniors. Absolutely.
Mr. Graves.
Yes, we are going to be negotiating for a new lease for this facility, so we would likely deal with that through that process, is how we're going to handle it.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And that takes us to consideration of bylaws. Councillor Van Kootenbos's first reading of the bylaws, please.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, I didn't realize I had that one. I apologize. Moved by Councillor Van Kootenbos and seconded by Deputy Mayor Whistlen that the mover have leave to introduce and go into committee of the whole on the following bylaws. 1, to amend zoning bylaw for application ZN 6-23-01, bylaw 23-5270. 2, a confirmation bylaw, July 10th, 2023, bylaw 23-5271. Council and the Committee of the Whole, Mayor Petrie is in the chair. On motion, the bylaws are accepted as circulated, and that constitutes the first and second reading of the bylaws.
Thank you very much. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We're now in Committee of the Whole. Would anybody like to discuss any of the bylaws? Seeing none, I will ask for Deputy Mayor Wilson, please, to rise out of the Committee of the Whole.
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Bowman, that the committee do now rise out of the Committee of the Whole.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Bylaw third reading, Councillor Bowman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Bowman, seconded by Councillor Hughes, that bylaws 23-5270 and 23-5271 be now read a third time, passed, signed, and sealed, and that this is constitutes the third reading of the bylaws.
All those in favor? Opposed? This is carried. We'll now go into closed session. Before we do, does anybody have anything they'd like to highlight? Councillor Hughes.
I'd like to highlight, and I think it was mentioned earlier, about the fireworks on July the 1st. They were great. A lot of people were out. I was there myself. The kid in me was jumping up and down. All that wonderful stuff. It was great. Good to hear. There was a lot of people surprised at how late they went off, but you know what? They went off. They went boom, and that was what everybody was there for. So thank you for making that happen. I know I moved the resolution back at budget time, and it's glad to see it all come together.
Yeah, unfortunately, Ingersoll residents have been spoiled by doing them in the wintertime when it gets dark very early. So it's a little bit different in the summertime. Councillor Van Kooten-Bosens.
So I'm going to be a bit of a downer, but we've had some vandalism done in our downtown area this past weekend. The wonderful, beautiful flower pots that are very, very heavy not only got turned over on one night, but they got put back up by our Parks Department, which we're very, very appreciative. But on the second night, got turned over again, 2 of them that time. And it's like it's a drunk contest. I can't see any other reason for doing it. But I would encourage anyone who's living in the downtown area to please call the police. You know what? This isn't needed. Our town Parks and Recs Department, they do an amazing job. And it's to help beautify. And when you see something like that happen, I got a text first thing in the morning from a citizen, 7 o'clock in the morning, do you realize that this has happened? And it's not very nice for our town. So please, you know what, don't hesitate to call the police. When you see it happening, somebody I guess was also trying to climb the scaffolding that was downtown. That becomes very dangerous. And yeah. I remember being a kid too, but I didn't do stupid stuff like that. I didn't cause destruction. So if I can put a shout out to our Parks Department, they were amazing and got things cleaned up very, very quickly, but it shouldn't have to happen. And it's a costly happening. By the time that you put cost of staff having to do it, having to figure out who's going to do it, and then the flowers themselves. I mean, the flowers can only take so many times of doing that. So I would just encourage all the residents to please keep your eyes open and make sure that you say something and call the police in that respect. The other thing I've been noticing in town is parking. There's been a lot of parking at every little side street that I'm going down. They're parking within that metered section before a stop sign that people shouldn't be parking in. I haven't reported anybody as of yet. I keep hoping that I won't see it anymore. It was just a fluke or something like that, but I'm continuing to see it. And so I thought, well, I'll bring it to the attention of our citizens that are watching, and maybe something will get done. Maybe somebody might out there go, oh, I was parking there and I shouldn't park there. There's actually no, I actually looked, there was no parking signs. So if it's a no parking sign, it becomes hazardous if you have to pull out around a vehicle to come up to a stop sign. If there's another stopped vehicle coming around that corner and they don't see you right away, then you're going to get hit, and it's not your fault because you're pulling out around a vehicle that shouldn't be there. It's that vehicle that shouldn't be there that needs to learn to follow road signs. So I just am putting that out to the citizens of our town. Please do better. To those that are doing it, not those that aren't doing it. I'm not saying that to them, but those that are doing that, can you please do better? And let's not cause accidents and not park where we're not supposed to be parking. So thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Anyone else? No, I'll just, obviously the kids are out of school, so that's, I'm sure there's expelling some energy. But no, there's a great time. Everybody get outside while the sun is still shining until 10 o'clock at night and enjoy the summertime. It looks like the smoke's gone from the fires, so everybody can breathe a little good, but a little bit better. And so there's lots to do out there, whether it's just taking a walk on our trails or getting out and using the park. So I encourage everybody to do that. So with that, I don't see anybody else, so I will ask that we go into closed session. Councillor Hughes, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself, Councillor Hughes, seconded by Councillor Hellerue, that the council do now go into closed session, closed meeting at 8:45 PM pursuant to Section 239, Bracket 2 of the Municipal Act 2001, as amended, to discuss the following matters. 1, closed session meeting minutes, June 12, 2023, and Section 239, Bracket 2, Bracket D, labor relation or employee negotiation.
Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We'll now retire to the J.C. Herbert Room.